Morning, everybody. If you're online, if you could let me know and say hi in the chat, that would be amazing. Oh. 'Wait a minute or two and see if anybody else pops on. Morning, Judith. You okay this morning? Excuse my voice, I'm a little bit throaty today. Hair's all over the place. Well, stay with me. You can definitely tell it's morning time, can't you? So, how are we this morning? As I said, if you pop into the chat, if you'd like to say hi, do so. And then I can say hello to you this morning. If you've got any questions throughout the tour, do let me know. And then I'll try and answer as much as I can as we go along. And you have to excuse my voice this morning. I'm a little bit throaty. So, good morning, everybody. If you've not been with me before, my name is Leslie Hammam, and I spent over 25 years in Egypt. Absolutely love Egyptian history, and I do love putting a little bit of a different spin on what we know today. So, I hope you enjoy the tour. As I said, if you've got any questions as we go along, please do ask away in the chat there, and I will do my best to answer them as much as I can. So, what are we going to be talking about today? So today is we're going to be talking about one of the family trees, ancient Egyptian family trees. And this morning I thought we'd go to the Akhenaten family tree. It's a very interesting one. Not my favourite part of Egyptian history, if I'm wholly honest, but it is an interesting one nonetheless. An awful lot of things happened. Oh, hold on, we're just doing funny things. An awful lot of interesting things happened during this time. Lots of different dynamics within the family, but we'll go through them all now. So, Akhenaten entered the world very much as a spare heir, rather than the star of the show. Okay, so he was born to these guys. So this is his. So Tutankhmun was the end of the line. So when I say grandparents, that's who I mean for this. But Amenhotep III and Tia were Amenhotep III's, Akhenaten's parents, and he lived quite a long time and did an awful lot of building work in Luxor as well. And then we have Amenhotep III's parents, which was Nefertari and Tutmosis V. And then we have Thoya and Tuya, which was the Queen's parents. So before we go on with the slideshow, let me just get back into the story of Akhenaten a little bit for you. So he was second son of Amenhotep III and the formidable great wife Tai, a woman with sharp political instincts and a firm grip on influence. Even after her son became king, Tia remained a powerful presence, hovering in the background and some would say quietly steering the ship, which happened an awful lot during the 18th and 19th dynasties. We had an awful lot of very, very powerful and strong women. Actually, into the 17th, back as far as the 17th dynasty as well, we had an awful lot of very strong women. So she's just carrying on this lineage of very strong, controlling women of the time. The crown was meant for Akhenaten's older brother. Okay, so older brother, Crown Prince Tutmosis. So we'll just go through the slideshow so we can get to him a little bit. Now, The problem was there was something strange going on in this period, because there seemed to be an awful lot of deaths going on around that time. So Tutmosis was a man already burdened with enough religious titles to fill a stone wall. I mean, he had loads of titles: High Priest of Ptah at Memphis, 7 Priests of Ptah, Overseer of the Prophets of Upper and Lower Egypt. He looked every inch the future pharaoh. Then, unconventionally for history, he died shortly before Tutmosis III's grand 30th Jubilee. With the obvious heir gone, Akhenaten found himself unexpectedly promoted. Okay, so this is a statue of the Prince Tutmosis, and this is actually telling people about his death. Okay, so it does seem to be that there was an awful lot of plagues going on, and if we look at the previous slide, which was taken, this one, which was taken from the Temple of Mut in Luxor, there are an awful lot of Sekhmet statues hanging about in that area. Okay, so there's over 300 Sekhmet statues found so far in the Temple of Mut. Now, if we go over to the west bank of the River Nile and we go to the Colossus of Memnon, which was also the beginning of, or the entrance to Amenhotep III's temple on the west bank, which was supposed to be extremely large. Unfortunately, there's not much of it left apart from the statues now. They have done some excavation around there, and they found more evidence of hundreds of more Sekhmet statues. Now, why this particular goddess? Well, she was not only a very vengeful goddess, she also was the bringer and taker away of plagues. She was also known as a great healer as well. So it seems to me that Amenhotep III was trying to appease the gods for some reason by putting all these statues, or building all these statues to this goddess. Something that didn't seem to work, and unfortunately did take his eldest son, which is a little bit of a shame, because history could have been completely different if Tutmosis IV had been in power, or Prince Tutmosis. So again, the death of Amenhotep III and Queen T, they came on shortly afterwards, which is a bit of a shame. Again, they got sick during the plague. And then we have Amenhotep VI before he became Akhenaten. So you can see, the imagery of him before then. He seems to have this pot belly even back then, doesn't he? With the man boobs and the belly, does seem to be a bit of a feature, but they do become more prominent as we go along. So the royal household was busy even by Egyptian standards. Akhenaten was had a very small army of sisters. He had 5, in fact, altogether, and in a development that would make modern family trees recoil, 2 of them, Sitiam and Iset, later became great royal wives of their own father during his final years on the throne. This is something that happened quite often in ancient Egypt, actually, that daughters would marry fathers, sisters, brothers, keeping it in the family, really. As if this weren't strange enough, Akhenaten's life has attracted theories that range from bold to downright bizarre. One writer, Omar Osman, suggested that Akhenaten was actually the biblical Moses, that his grandfather Yoya, which we saw earlier in the slideshow, was Joseph of the Technicolor Dreamcoat fame. Unfortunately, for this idea, Yoya is firmly rooted in the Egyptian elite of Akhmim in Upper Egypt. Akhmim had the temple of Min. There isn't much left of the temple today, but it is actually a very, very interesting place to go visit. A bit of a jelly belly then. Yes, he has got a bit of a jelly belly, isn't he? But I suppose, again, it does seem to be around that time that realism was more, I say realism, maybe an extensional realism. So this possibly could have been what he actually looked like. And then when you get to a little bit later on, when he changes into Akhenaten, he kind of changes the imagery a little bit and puts his own stamp on it. So this is what he wanted to perceive himself looking like a bit later on, which is a little bit weird, isn't it? All these very chiseled features. I say chiseled features, but his face is very. He's got very chiseled features on his face, but then as you go down, he's got this very pot belly, and it's just a very, very strange imagery that came from the Akhenaten period. Everything changed, even the hieroglyphics on the walls, everything changed at that time. And I just think it was a massive breakaway from what had come before, because they were so invested in getting away from the Amun priesthood, it does seem to be at that time. So we're talking about Yuya possibly being of Technicolor Dreamcoat fame, weren't we? Unfortunately, because he was so Egyptian, and prominently, I think he was a priest in Akhmim itself, there's no evidence whatsoever that he was an Israelite, which is what Joseph was. Osman also pointed to similarities between the name Aten and the Hebrew word for Abon. But since the Israelites worshipped something completely different, most historians have quietly set this theory to one side. So again, we're not quite sure. So then enter Nefertiti. Okay, we'll get into Amara in a minute. So Nefertiti is arguably the most famous queen in history, thanks largely to the elegant bust found at Amarna, now on display in the Berlin Museum. Here we go. This is this great bust. I am actually going to Berlin this year, so we'll hopefully get to see this firsthand, unless Egypt's taken it back by then. So hopefully I'll be able to get some museum footage for us when I go there. Oh, excuse me. Her background is a bit murky. We know that she was the wife of Ai, and she was her wet nurse at one point. But beyond that, her family tree fades into speculation. What is clear is that Nefertiti was no decorative accessory. She appears constantly at Akhenaten's side, see from this image here, performing rituals, smiting enemies, and generally doing things queens weren't supposed to do back then. This was a royal family, unusually fond of public attention. Akhenaten is shown cuddling his daughters, kissing his wife, and playing happy families beneath the rays of the Aten, which we can see in this photo here. Sorry, I'm just going through my notes. Go through here. Scenes that would have made earlier pharaohs shudder, because they wouldn't have done this. It was all about grandeur and wanting to show how strong your position was and how great a pharaoh you were. But then in the Akhenaten period, this was all thrown on its head and did a 360. And now we're seeing more affectionate things. I mean, in a way, it's quite sweet that he wants to show his family in such a light. But I do believe that he did a lot of damage in this time as well, which we'll get into in a second. Then, just as suddenly as she had risen to prominence, Nefertiti vanishes from record. Did she fall from favour? Did she die? Was she quietly replaced by her daughter Meritaten? Or did she rule under another name? Some theories take this mystery to dramatic extremes. One suggests that Nefertiti became co-regent. Another claims she ruled as Akhenaten's successor under the name Smenkhare, possibly dressed as a man. A still more sensational idea casts her as Akhenaten's male lover. I don't know where they get this idea from, but anyway, these theories hinge on shared royal names, old burial positions, and the awkward timing of Nefertiti's disappearance. However, romantic depictions of Smenkhare and Meritaten, Nefertiti's own daughter, tend to dampen enthusiasm for the wilder interpretations. Now, what happened during this time was, as we know, there was a great plague that's been recorded. His older brother has now died. So we know that the Aten started making an appearance during the time of Amenhotep III. We're not quite sure where it came from or why suddenly this rise came up. But because of what had happened, like, can you imagine, your pharaoh, your eldest son's just died. He was going to carry the lineage on. He was who you were prepping for the role. He suddenly dies. You get sick from this same illness. You're doing everything that the priesthood is telling you to do, which is go and give offerings, possibly sacrifice a few animals, just, pay more to the priesthood, they'll pray more for you. All this kind of thing was going on at the time, but still nothing changed. It still got bad. People were still dying from this plague. So then you have Akhenaten coming in, and he's gone, you know what? Whatever it is that you guys have said has been a lie. I don't believe you anymore, and I'm going to roll with this new religious idea that we've got, and I'm going to take all of my people and I'm going to move them to a new capital, which was Amarna. Okay, so if we go back to the slide, this is Amarna here. Not much left of it, I have to say, but it was built very, very quickly. Okay, so they threw this up in no time at all. Now, we do believe that lots smaller blocks were used in the building of Amarna so that it was easier to do. It is kind of like in the middle of nowhere, really. Judith has been, so she's been and seen this area. I managed to skip that day because, as I said, the Amarna period wasn't my favourite, but I am regretting not going there now. So it is a trip that I do need to do, go back to Egypt and go and do in the not so distant future. But so all the tombs that you'll find there, the temples that are there, there's not much left. Now, this is because once Akhenaten had died, I think it was Horemheb I took over at the time because there was this great big cavern of a black hole. Tutankhmun wasn't ready to take over at this point yet. So they got rid of all evidence of the Amarna period, or as much as they possibly could, and moved the capital back to Luxor again and to the Amun priesthood. So if you think of all these people, they were relocated into Amarna. There's this little utopia that had been created by Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Not only that, they were the only high priests of this religion, so there was no other high priest at all. So once they died, the religion kind of died with them as well. And then we have this whole kind of like shift around and uncertainty. Looking over it, just seems like a playing game, Miles. But obviously there would have been a lot of sun. Yeah, very true, very true. But also a lot of it was taken away. Because if you look at aerial views of that, you can see where the foundations are, but all the stones and everything have completely gone. So it is a bit of a shame there isn't more left of it to tell us exactly what was going on here at the time. But then I do firmly believe that we haven't found everything yet. as with everything else, things will turn up in centuries to come, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen or what we'll find. So let's move on from Amarna then, and Nefertiti. So this is Akhenaten with his wife and children. So you can see his wife and him are sending offerings up to the Aten, or the sun god, and then you have the children behind him, but you have all the children named here as well. This is very interesting. So, came across this in a little corner in the Cairo Museum, and it's like a little corner of Akhenaten or Amarna stuff. And this sarcophagus was there, and as you can see, the face is missing. So like it's well, you could forgive thinking that I have to excuse Tabitha's come to say good morning, and she started my slideshow off again. Tabs, let's go back. Sorry. Pain you are. So you can forgive the idea that it could have been destroyed in by tomb robbers. They could have taken it. But the interesting thing about the sarcophagus is the actual name that was on it has been taken out, and that was one of the ways that you would stop people from going into the afterlife or punishing them, was to take their name away. So the cartouche with the name on is completely missing. That's been taken off, and there's no evidence of who this could be. We do believe that it possibly could be Akhenaten or this Menkaura that came later on. Excuse, the cat has decided she wants to play this morning, which is an absolute nightmare. So you have to excuse her. And then in comes Tutankhmun. Now, he takes over, but he is still a young child, so he's very malleable. So you have, and we know that he gets married to Akhenaten as well, but you have Horemheb and I come in. I is more of a political genius, is very good at restoring the government back to where it was, and also trying to bring back those trade agreements and make sure everything's okay, because during the Amarna period a lot of money was wasted, and Akhenaten also didn't bother to try and... My cat, I don't know if you can see her, she's going up into the wardrobe. Can't do anything, can I, with it? These animals, honestly. Yeah, so where's my train of thought gone? So Akhenaten didn't do anything to secure any of the borders. He just literally upped and left the capital of Thebes, moved this capital to Amarna, and then lived in this little dystopian world that they had there. Okay, so it was up to Horemheb, who was an army general, and I, who was the political genius at the time, to try and restore some kind of normality back to the Egyptian people again, and try and get everything back to the way it was before. So, as I said, Tutankhmun was too young to take over at this point, so it was said that while I was going off and doing all the army stuff, while Horemheb was going off and doing all the army stuff, I would take over. Again, you do have some of this affectionate stuff between Tutankhmun and his wife. Also, as we know, Tutankhmun was the famous tomb that was found by Howard Carter. But between I and Tutankhmun, there were some very big similarities. So we know that Tutankhmun dies young. Again, report's still out on why he died or how he died. We do know that he wasn't very well. It looks like he had what seems to be an accident, which was causing lots of pain with his leg back in those days, which wasn't very good for him, bless him. So what we're going to do now is I want to show you the similarity between I and Tutankhmun's tomb, because I do believe that there's a tomb in the Western Valley, next to the Valley of the Kings, which is the tomb of I, which is identical to that of Tutankhmun's. And I do believe that they hadn't quite finished the Western Valley tomb, so they decided that what they would do is they would make another tomb in the Valley of the Kings for Tutankhmun. And it's King Tut's tomb is very small in the grand scheme of things, especially when you look at the other tombs. So you can see that it was done very, very, very quickly, so that they're able to get him buried quickly. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go to the video of Tutankhmun's tomb so you can see. So I want you to sit back and relax, and then what we'll do is we'll go to, because I've got I's tomb as well, and then we can have a look at both of these, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so that's the tomb of Tutankhmun. So now let's go and have a look at the tomb of I, which is in the Western Valley, which, as I said, is... So if you go into the Valley of the Kings and then you go off, there's two roads. So you've got one that leads straight up into the valley, and then you've got another road that goes off to the right, and that takes you into the Western Valley. And this is where we'll get to I's tomb. Now have a look at this one, because they are extremely similar. There you go. So that is a tomb of I. Can you see the similarities between those two tombs? It's quite amazing. And you can just see the artwork, everything, even the way the the pharaoh in the tomb is laid out is exactly the same as Tutankhamun's one. So they're both the same. So whether this one was started for Tutankhamun and then I usurped it, or whether the other one in the Valley of the Kings was for I, and then they had to put Tutankhamun in there quickly, it's unclear. It's still unclear. So they are very, very similar. Melissa, I keep trying to imagine that what this would look like in the dark. You know what? Funny you should say that, because a few years ago I was in Seti the First's tomb, and the lights went out. They had a power cut. So it only lasted for a minute or two, and of course, you'd think that I would, we'd be terrified because it was just the blackest, darkest place I think I'd ever sat in. I just sat down, and a lot of people would think, "Oh my goodness, but you're not scared?" That didn't not give you the heebie-jeebies, and I was just like, "No, actually, it actually was quite It was quite peaceful in there, because it was really quiet. There was no sound at all, apart from the guardian, asking if we were okay. And it was just like, oh, the lights will be back on in a minute. And I think we were sat there for a good 2 or 3 minutes while we were waiting for the electricity to come back on. And it was a surreal experience. It really was. So when you say about it being so black in there, and dark, you're absolutely right. I mean, again, it's mind-blowing that back then, before electricity was a thing, they were able to get daylight in there, or light in there. I don't think it would have been torches that they would have used, because it would have blackened the ceiling and it would have damaged the paintwork that they were achieving. So a lot of people think that they used mirrors and things to reflect inside. But if you go into places like Seti the First tomb, which is so deep down into the ground, and it goes down on 3 different levels, it just is mind-blowing how they were able to do it. Again, it's one of those things for time travelers to be able to go back and look at, isn't it? Judith, you're right. You've still got to go back to Saqqara to do to do the step pyramid, haven't you? Bless. We took a group out there a few years ago, a guided tour out to Egypt, some of the Hago followers that we had back then, and we went to Saqqara. They went to go into the Joseph's pyramid, which is a step pyramid, and just before I think it was just before you got in there, or as you were going in there, the electricity went off. We were stuck in. They didn't get to see much, which is a shame, because it's a really fantastic pyramid to go into. It was, you used your phone lights, didn't come back on, so we didn't see the bottom of the shaft. Oh, see, another reason to go back there, Judith. So it was created so much detail. It was amazing, Melissa. Absolutely amazing. It is amazing. And if you think of the intricate detail that you get, especially with some of the tombs that you go into, it is incredible. I mean, just the temples and tombs themselves are just, the carving and the artisan. It's just beautiful. Now, guys, don't forget, this tour is absolutely free for you to join, so thank you very much for coming with me today. But if you would like to buy me a coffee, it is always very much appreciated. It helps for the hours that are spent going into the research of these things, putting the videos together and bringing you more and more of Egypt. I've still got loads more content to put on here. I will be adding another YouTube video this week, actually, to my channel, so do keep an eye out for that. So if you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe, and you'll be updated on what's going on. What is going on with my hair today, honestly? Does anybody have any other questions they'd like to ask before we bring the tour to a close this morning? Now these ones are very new. The early morning, I say early morning, it's 8 o'clock in the morning here, but the morning ones are a new idea for me. I wanted to try and sort of like reach out to some of my followers across the pond there, so you can all join in. I will be putting some more morning ones up when I've got 5 minutes to add some more to the channel. But don't forget, I was supposed to have a tour tomorrow night, but because of the World Cup and the football, I thought I ought to move it to today. I know some of you probably want to watch the matches on this evening, but you know. So I will be going live at 8 p.m. No, sorry, 9 p.m. this evening. 9 p.m. I put it to 9 o'clock tonight. And we will be doing a virtual walk around a museum. I'm thinking about doing the Turin Museum in Italy tonight. Fabulous museum that is. So much to see. Was the stuff in there that I hadn't even seen in Egypt. I mean, it's incredible, that museum. So if you want to come and join me at 9 p.m. this evening for a virtual walk around the museum in Turin, please do come with me for that. I also enjoy midnight tours on nights when oh, bless you, Melissa. What time zone are you in at the moment? Where are you? Because I can't remember. You have told me before, but I've forgotten. Whereabouts in the world are you? And what time is it with you right now? Wrong shaped ball. Judith, you are funny. But also, if you have any other questions you'd like to ask about the tour today, please do let me know and I will do my best to answer them for you. If not, if you've got any other questions or requests, you can always go to my Buy Me a Coffee channel, send me a note there. I'm in the US in Oregon, so it's now, oh, crikey, that is good going. So probably would be easier for me to see you later on this evening, so 9 o'clock my time. So crikey, you're what, 8 hours behind us? Is that right? That's right, isn't it? Wow. So later on it will be 1 o'clock my time. The next tour today. So try and get some sleep if you can. So as I said, if you want to join me tonight at 9 o'clock, you can go to my Buy Me a Coffee channel. On that channel, you'll see all my up and coming tours. So do have a look there and pop on to some of the other tours. It'd be lovely to see you there. As I said, I will try and get some more morning ones up and running for you soon. Just takes a little bit of time to add them all and get them all on the calendar. So thank you very, very much for coming with me this morning. It's been my absolute pleasure as always. Thank you if you're in advance. If you are able to buy me a coffee, it means a great deal to me and also helps me keep the channel going. So thank you so much for that. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe out there and I'll see you again soon. Until next time, have a great day, guys. Bye for now. Bye.